because we know that we probably have some of the best coaching staff in the world. Everyone wants Fabian, but we get him.
Right, so here I am with Jok3r, the analyst from PSG Talon, fresh off Manchester Major. Jok3r, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and so I kind of wanted to start this with how you ended up on PSG, because looking at the Wikipedia, it seems like Wikipedia doesn't even have your time on Heroic on there. So like, where have you been? Where have you been bouncing around, and how did you end up working with Fabian on a South Korean team?
So yeah, like basically my biggest start was with Eminem Academy back in 2022. It was, I think,
Yeah.
before Challenger League in yeah, I think September, August, something of like that in 2022. I joined them. I think like I had a pretty decent reputation back then in like the tier 3 scene as a like default analyst, but there's like lots of them out there. And yeah, then I did CL. I had the major open qualifier thingy in 2023, which we won with MMA, or like we were first place in the open quotes part.
Yeah.
But yeah, then I played during the summer a bit with them. Like I transitioned, I think, mainly towards coaching a bit in that period as well, because we didn't have a coach. I
It's
think I
always
have
a bit muddy in T2, T3,
yeah.
isn't it?
And I mean, it's like the difference between like assistant coach and analyst is very, very slim or even coach and analyst in some teams is very, very slim.
Yeah.
Because I mean, in the end, we probably will go towards it, but analysts do kind of similar things coaches do in the eye of the public, at least. And coaches do a lot more of the mental and like environment building work, which the public probably doesn't see as like a coaching job.
Yeah.
Sometimes. But yeah, on MMA, I went a lot towards like coaching, just building good environment for the people, like picking up new players, developing them. I think that helped me in the long run as well, because I think my analyst work was always like good tier 2 level in 2023. And yeah, then Heroic was looking for an analyst, and I had a lot of people that like knew the Heroic guys put in a good word for me, which helped me, because it's always hard to, as a staff member, to get your work out, because I mean, you can be a great staff member and your team just can be shit, and you will never like deliver good results, and
Yeah.
you will never be in the conversation of a good staff member. So yeah, that helped me, I think, a bit. But I mean, I also had a good year with Eminem Academy, so that helped.
Yeah.
And yeah, then Heroic, I mean, you talked about it. For pretty shit stage with them. I mean, we had the roster change, or the leader benching after 2 games, and then like yeah, the team was a like mess at that point. I think Heroic was leaving, like everybody already knew that they were leaving after the stage, so there was no bigger motivation.
Yeah, that's a bit of a vibe killer.
Yeah, so that was that. And then after I left, I think in November, I was like having conversations with some teams, like even some bigger ones, but like some things fell through, like some things like I didn't want to, because I mean there's also money involved, and I was in like basically the ends of my uni degree, and so I focused on that a bit instead of just getting paid like 500 for like a bottom tier 1 job. So
Yeah.
that was my priority. And then I think in March it was, Fabian posted the looking for analyst post, and I mean I got tagged a bit and I saw it and I was like, yeah, that's cool opportunity. Like, who would be better to work with and learn from than like the
The God
3-time world
Emperor
champion?
himself, you know? Like,
Yeah. And then I got a reply pretty quickly, and then I tried with them for I think a week, 10 days, something around that. There were like 2 other people trialing, and I already had like during the trials a pretty good feeling of like that I did pretty well, and I think like we just matched personality-wise pretty well. And then I think towards the middle of April, they were like, yeah, we want to work with you. And then in the beginning of May, I flew out to bootcamp with them, like did the bootcamp with them, major, and yeah, since then I've been on the team.
Sweet. And what is it like working on a team like this? There's like so many different factors here. You know, it's working with a team of South Koreans, so there's like the language barrier and a different culture. There's like working with Fabian and Pengu, you know, two literal living legends of the space. And you know, we also know Fabian's he's got a fiery personality, and like that can be a challenge to work with if you're not ready for it. Like, what's it like working on this team with all these different like things going on, because it is just by any standard not a normal team, right?
Yeah, I mean it's super cool. Honestly, it's super cool. Like the Koreans have, even though like their entire idea of how to play the game, how team works, was super weird for us because it's been like T4 level like 2016 for European standards. It's like honestly mind-boggling how far they've gone in majors with like the infrastructure they have. But they like all of them have super good work ethic. They're super nice. Like they're super respectful. It's super cool. But yeah, the language barrier is interesting because like we are there during scrims. We listen to them, but we don't understand anything apart from like 3-2-1 and like maybe some cuss words we've picked up. um, but yeah, I think it works, and like they learn English. Like during boot camp, they like went from no English for some people to actually being able to hold a conversation like with easy words. Because the funny thing about them is they learn English in school for 8 years or something, but they don't learn how to speak in school. They only learn how to like write and like grammar. So they have and they don't really consume like Western media. So they don't really. Oh, that's
no worries.
They don't really consume Western media, so they don't really get to listen or to speak English. So they just forget everything they learn in school. But I mean, I talked to Soldier about it like today, legit. He was like, yeah, just listening to Fabian, Pengu, and me in Poland during the bootcamp, like just speaking English to them, whether they understand it or not, we just speak English to them, because then we have a translator, obviously translating it. But they just pick up stuff and like get into the English speaking mindset, and like that worked over 2 weeks like incredibly for some people.
Yeah, and like the one thing to say about like South Koreans and esports is always like you know, their work ethic and how fast they can pick things up is always insanely quick. I did want to ask, like, what is it like working with Fabian? Because on that podcast he did with Dez, he mentioned that he puts a lot of work onto the players themselves. So how does that play with your work as an analyst, and you know, what kind of work is he looking for out of you compared to like a more traditional team?
Yeah, I mean, in Europe, the coaches are always like, or like the coaches I knew I worked with were always like trying to be like, okay, I teach you how to play, and you just listen to me, and I give you all the solutions that you need in game. And like, I tell you, I do threats, whatever. Especially like in lower levels. That's what a coach is like for. Like at least people think that's what a coach is for. On like some teams, it was a lot more like officer. For example, on Heroic, he was a lot more about like mental stuff, building team environment, talking to people, fixing personality issues, issues between people. That was like more the like traditional head coach style that we might know from like traditional sports.
Yeah.
But Fabian is, I mean, he is super, like his online personality is not what he is in real life. He's a super nice. He like is a really super nice human being, but he is hard. Like it's a job for him, and he dedicates everything to the job, and he expects everyone else to dedicate everything to the job as well. So that's why he can be hard if people aren't delivering, or if people aren't improving the rate they should be. Then he can be hard, but I think that works with the Korean mindset. I think that fits basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, for how he works, it's a lot. I think he said it on Des podcast a lot about building productive like team environment and giving the players the tools that they need to learn the game himself. So Fabian also did, I think he studied for like a year or two as a teacher to become a teacher in Sweden.
Okay.
So you would never expect it out of him if you hear him in
not with the persona he puts on, no.
Yep, but that's what he did. And it shows sometimes. He just tries to give the team like the basics to work around, and then they have to find solutions. Because like the best example is, for example, that during tech timeouts, he can't fix their place, like the entire game, the entire idea of how to play a map against the opponent. He can't
Yeah.
fix it. He has one tech timeout in the game, and that doesn't help. So the people or the players themselves need to understand what's going wrong and find a solution of how to fix what's going wrong. And he tries to give them or teach them how to find those solutions, and like give them maybe some thoughts about what might be the best way to fix it, but he doesn't give them like fixed solutions. He always gives them like the tool to find the solution, basically.
Okay.
And I think this is in the long run the best thing, because
Yeah.
like maybe short term our like results would be better if he just says, in this current meta you always have to play this, but then next meta they're there again and just don't know what to do. So and helping them understand how to play, how to fix, how to problem solve, how to react will make them better in the long term, like develop a good like core of players that can like have those skills and can use them in the game.
Yeah. And so, what, as an analyst, like, what kind of work are you doing? Because I mentioned this before the interview, but the analyst role kind of gets summed up as the number cruncher, and nobody actually takes the time to explain what does it mean to crunch the numbers beyond just, oh well, they have a plus 15 entry differential in scrims, and we won like border 5 times in the past 20 plays or whatever, so we shouldn't play it or whatever. So what does it actually mean to be an analyst, and what kind of work do you do, and how heavy, if any, is like the spreadsheets, you know?
Yeah, so I mean, basically, you can like say analysts have like two different parts of like the job. It's like internal and external. And currently on PSG, we like this is a long-term project,
Yeah.
and during stage one, like when I wasn't there, like Pengu and Fabian already figured out that like giving them external just fries their brain. They don't know how to handle external. They just if you give them external, they will play nothing else apart from the things that you just say to them, and they forget everything they've learned before. So we just scrapped external for Manchester and just said fixing our own game and fixing on ourselves will help us a lot more than doing external. So yeah, currently I just do internal, and like splitting like internal is basically the most number crunching part of the things, because yes, I have a spreadsheet with like every info you could imagine, like win rates for every map, side, strat. We have like on average 3 to 4 strats per side, so I have like for every strat I have win rates, like player
Wow.
stats, operator stats. For every side I have like all the refract numbers, all the entry numbers, the conversion numbers, and there's like I think just during Poland I had like 15 new like stats entered into there. Like for example, when we get the first kill, how often uh, do they get the next one? Like not a refract, direct refract, but just how often do we convert a 5v4 into 4v4 or 4v5 into 4v4? So how good are we with like numbers advantages or man disadvantages? And it's like all these different matrices that you have in your
Yeah.
spreadsheet that I then take a look at and see what's problematic and what's not problematic. Like if we have a 55% opening kill conversion rate, that's shit. But that's only like a result of the problem, not the direct problem.
Yeah.
So I see that number and then I go deeper and like, who is it that always dies in like a 5v4 situation? Or do we like not play fast enough after the like opening kill? Or like what is the problem of the bad number there? And then like you go layer by layer deeper.
So you use the numbers to almost guide you more than like I see some people, especially more casual viewers, kind of go, well, the stats tell the story, but it sounds like you're saying the stats point something out, and then I do my own investigation.
The stats can lie often. I mean, I think we've seen it like with players as well. Like when players drop good stats, I mean, this might be harsh, but Citizen on G2, for example, he always had good stats.
Yeah.
But the team was shit. And it was partially of the players that they had around him or with him, like, or against him sometimes even. So I think numbers are just some, like 50%, 40% of the truth, and you just can use the numbers to like look for the problem. And then you talk, like we mainly, like we have like every few days we look through stats that are like bigger picture, and then try to find the solution as a team. So I just tell the team we have a problem area there. Why is it that way? Like maybe I tell them the number. Maybe it's not important like what the stats actually look like, but I just tell them like a problem area, and then we try to like problem solve. Is it a threat? Sometimes it's just the threat is shit. Like I have had Fabian said, I think yesterday or 2 days ago. Yeah, this threat doesn't make any sense. Why are we even playing it? Like we have no cover there. We have nothing against there. So sometimes it's just a threat. Sometimes it's how a player plays his position. Sometimes it's, I mean, just players making mistakes. Like it's like especially during the first stage now. Like most of our mistakes has been individual mistakes.
Yeah.
So we couldn't get team play on the line just because of individual mistakes. But yeah, that's number things, and I think a lot of like what I do as well is some smaller team environment things, and like Fabian has a pretty set style on how he did things in the past. I mean, he's an old man who played back like 10 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
So he has a set ideas, and I think I bring sometimes like different direction, and like I think one of the things I find super nice that is he listens to stuff. Like he listens to feedback, he wants other people's input, and even though he still has the last saying in it, so if he doesn't want stuff to be done, he just doesn't do it, but he still listens to everyone, and he tries out new things. And I think especially during Poland we found a way, like all coaches together, or like Pengu, me, Fabian together, to be more effective, and I think that helped. And yeah, just I think that's the smaller part I do as well, and like some strats or some
Yeah. Okay.
some, I think strategic coaching is like analyst work as well in a bit.
Interesting. And then Pengu's name has come up a little bit, but you know when people talk about PSG Talon, the main storyline is Fabian is the head coach. But how involved is Pengu? Like, because he's listed as a content creator. Clearly, it sounds like he's a little bit more than that. But how heavily involved is Pengu in this whole project, and how does he fit in with you being the analyst?
I mean, he sits in most of the scripts. I would say
okay.
like 80-90% he's there. He, I think we kind of, or he's still trying to figure out like what exactly his role is a bit, because I mean, Fabian has most of the stuff under control, but we can still help, like need any help we can have with like individual decision making, or like how to play a position.
Okay.
And I think that's what like the niche he kind of plays now, that he just goes through the what's with us and then goes onto specific positions, like, or a player is missing a good drone spot, and he just sits there doing the scrim and tests out like 10 different drone spots in a custom game by himself, and he just finds like this small solution for like macro play, while Fabian does the bigger picture and like team environment stuff, and I do like the more strat based stuff. That's his niche, and I think he helped a lot with like small, just how do I play. For example, Monty on Soldier, he helps to play Soldier Monty.
He would.
To teach
Pengu would
Soldier
be a
to
good
play
Monty teacher.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like Pengu has a different skill set than Fabian, and I think it's nice to have both of those. And it's good use.
Okay, and I wanna transition now talking about the major proper, because you were working like completely with the team during the major. How do you think the major went overall? Obviously, you had some real highs. You almost made it to the playoffs. How do you think you did in totality?
I think going into it, we like, especially after the boot camp, we had no hope. Like our boot camp results were horrible. Like we are getting smashed by every team we played. So we didn't have super high expectations. And we had like some clear problem areas we wanted to work on, and those showed over the major. But I think the first game against Bleed like showed us, and I think proved to everyone else that we can be competitive. I think against Bleed we had a good chance of winning as well. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
we kind of like were scared of winning in a way. Like I think it showed against E1 as well, where we were 6-1 up and then trolled it to 6-6. We were
Yeah.
just scared of winning. Like it wasn't like them playing better. We just were shaking just because we could win here. That was unexpected. Like the mindset wasn't right in those games. Um, and then I think after winning against E1, like we did more than most people expected of us. So there was like no pressure on the players. So against the BDS game, they just had fun. Like they just got in there, just like we won't win, probably won't win. We can win, maybe, but nobody expects us to win. So there's no pressure on us. So I think that mindset carried us to the game. After we won like 2 or 3 rounds on defense, they just went into flow of we're just having fun. We're just shitting on BDS. Like we're winning against them, and I think that carried us through the game.
Okay.
And then we were on a 2-1. We could make top 8, and then we could just make top 8. Mindset gets in, and like they have pressure again.
Yeah.
And this pressure against FaZe set in a bit, but FaZe was clearly better than us. And
I
then
mean, just
again,
also one of the best teams in the world casually.
I mean,
So.
we played BDS, FaZe, Beast Coast. We played like 3 top 4 teams in the end. And then against Beast Coast, I think we struggled a lot with nerfs and like made so many mistakes. Fabian said it in the Death podcast as well. I think Border should have been our win. I think we fully threw Border away. But yeah, I think in the end, like we were super sad because we had a real shot at making top 8, but didn't make it. But like after a week or so, we can be really proud of us for like what we achieved in such a short time frame, and like with the players and like situation that we had. I think we did really well.
Yeah, and so already, the off season hasn't been going on for that long, and we already see 2 pretty big roster changes with you guys picking up Rumatic and Yas. What was kind of the reasoning behind these pickups? And I noticed, at least on the Liquipedia, it says you have 6 players, so I'm crossing my fingers here. Is Fabian going with the 6-man lineup like it's year 2, season 1 again?
I'm not gonna leak there, but we're not going with the 6-man lineup. We're not going with for the Falco Consulate. Was it Consulate? I think
It was.
Yeah, where he got swapped in or out. I don't remember.
It was
like
half. It was half and half on the maps.
Yeah, KS and Falco. By the way, I talked to Pengu about it like the other day. It was because I think KS was working like a full-time job during that time, and they could only practice like 3 maps with him. So they only practiced like half the map pool with KS and the other half the map pool with Falco.
That's super
And that's
cool.
why they swapped players. Yeah, but no, we are going for a 5-man roster. But yeah, won't leak
Of course.
who will be changed there. But yeah, I think Fabian said it as well. Pengu said it as well before. They both didn't have any decision on roster moves before stage 1, so they got put in with a fixed roster. But during the stage, and especially during boot camp, there was like clear issues we had with like playstyle, player development, or players that we think have hit a ceiling in the playstyle we want. Like we expect a lot more, not brain, but like the ability to adapt and think on their own.
Yeah.
And do strats and understand strats immediately, do stuff on the fly. And some players just can't do that while playing. It's like a skill you like either have or have not, or you really have to put time into to learn it. And yeah, that's why we decided on roster changes. But honestly, like finding good players in Korea was incredibly hard. Like we had no expectation of like the caliber of player we want to pick up. We just wanted like a bit more gunpowder and player that we think they can develop into like what we want of them. Like we asked our players, are there any rank gods
stars?
out there who can just like 17, 18, 19-year-old gunners who maybe want to play comp and they have the ability to learn how to think, basically. We didn't have like, that's what was our expectation. We wanted like somebody young that can gun for one pickup at least, but there's nobody in Korea.
Wow.
Nobody. I mean, we put out the looking for academy player post. I think we got 2 replies of people wanting to coach, but nobody really for player.
Really?
So that's the level of like non-existent talent we have in Korea.
And you guys don't want to go international with this. You don't want to do what like Mir is doing or Fearx with Jax, I want to say. Or you want to keep it straight all Korean talent?
Yeah, I mean the bigger idea for Fabian is also to build like Korea as a region and to develop the whole region by giving them like good players. Like our system should output, like that's the academy team as well, should output good players, good staff, and like especially like how to properly run a team, like how to set up a team environment that's productive. And I mean it's hard, but we got Yas immediately. Like that guy, I think he didn't even try for us. We just said, Yas, come back. You're the best player Korea has ever seen. We want you back. Because just by working with him for like, what is it, 2 weeks maybe, less than
Something
2 weeks.
about that?
He can talk. He can definitely shoot. And he's also like a leadership figure because he's I think 28 at this point. So he's more experienced. He's a bit older, but he still has it like gunplay wise.
Yeah.
Even though in the beginning he needed to adapt to new ADS times and that stuff a bit. Like it showed it was pretty funny, but he's definitely on a good track to be like an insane player again.
Sweet.
And then Rheumatic, I don't know, some of the players just said, yeah, we should try him. He had like really good stats for the team he has been on in stage 1, and he can just shoot back. He recently turned 19, I think, like 2 or 3 days ago.
Oh yeah, he's a young gun then.
Yeah, he's super young. He was exactly like what we were looking for, like a young gunner who can think, and he already proved that. He talks a lot more than what we were used to from other players, and he can just shoot back pretty hard. And I think that just fits our roster currently a lot better. I think I've seen on Reddit that we're going with the old G2, like 5 Jaeger mains or 5 entry players thingy. I think Reddit needs to learn that the current meta is like 1 support player and like 4 flex players that need to play everything. And hard support operators aren't meant to be played by the support player every round now. I think there's been a lot of hard support players that can just play Grim or Capital or whatever now, and like all the hard bridges get played by flex players because, I mean, you just open a wall and then you have a good gun and just can entry because that's your job then.
Yeah, because I mean that's what Joke with Ace, right? If you needed 2 hard breachers, you just gave Ace to the entry or whatever because he has the AK-12 and you just throw 2 Selmas and your job's done.
Yeah, that's legit how it is right now. And I think we have a super flexible roster now. We have Soldier and Misa who have been on like Soldier and Misa Rider who've been on like entry roles before, and Soldier has played I think hard breach on, was it D+? I have no idea. Like
I think he was running to D+, yeah.
Yeah, I think he played hard breach there before, so he has like experience on both ends, so he's super flexible. Misa is super flexible. Ryder played Ace and like other like more support operators before, but like he's still mechanically insanely gifted. So yeah, they're super flexible, and like with Rheumatic we have a clear like spearhead now who can just shoot in the front, and Yas is just also super flexible. So we have 4 players that can play everything, and Rheumatic who plays like a lot of different stuff as well, but like it's more of the
fragging oriented,
like fragging guy.
Yeah. Okay, and it does sound like just where am I trying to take this? It does sound like, you know, independence and like a willingness to grow and just kind of are the 2 primary factors for this team, especially because it seems like it's a great way to compensate for the language barrier, but also it's just the best way to see this region like improve in South Korea. Is that something that like Fabian and you guys have been actively pushing towards with these player pickups, or is it more just like, you know, the 4 flex system is here, so we're gonna kind of use it as long as it's in meta?
I think we aimed for having like the players that basically are able to adapt and learn everything. So, because we know that we probably have some of the best coaching staff in the world. Like Fabian, everyone wants Fabian. You see G2 after Fabian left, yeah. I mean, everyone wants Fabian. That's the thing.
Yeah.
But we get him, and he like strategically can do everything. Like in Manchester, I was like sharing a hotel room with him. Like that guy's like in the bed at like 2 a.m. Just talking about threats. Yeah, we should do this. We should do this. I have an idea there. We could try this. Like that guy is just he can do everything. Like on the fly, we did like 2 new maps in a night in Manchester where we had to. That guy can just strategically do everything. And then team environment, I think, yeah, obviously he has a good understanding of how team environment should be. So I think we have the ability to form any player that's willing and intelligent enough to learn. We can form them into really, really, really good players. Like not even Korea good players, world good players.
World class.
So yeah, world class players. So that's what we are looking for, like players that we can see the potential in, and the ability to learn and the willingness to learn, and that's what we're looking for. Yeah.
Okay. I feel like I've kept you long enough. Jok3r, on the way out the door, is there anything you want to say? Any sponsorships you want to shout out for the organization? Any challenges you want to issue, or anything you want to anyone you want to shout out? Anything and everything is on the table.
I mean, thank you to everyone who supported us in Manchester. I think there's been a lot of people cheering for us, and like a special thanks to everyone who understands like the situation we're in. Like this is a new team, and I think there's been very, very few people hating on like APAC region doing shit at major again, apart from like the one American guy we don't need to talk about. But I think that's a very, very positive thing, and I think I'm like all the players are really happy with like everyone being realistic with them and giving them the chance and giving them the time to improve. And yeah, keep cheering for us. I hope to be at EWC again this year, or like first time for us, but with the team. And hope people support us there. If there's a stream next weekend for the close qualifiers for EWC, then support us there. And yeah, thank you for having me, and thank you for the interview.